And let's get you caught up. Australian billionaire and Mar-a-Lago member Anthony Pratt said then President Donald Trump told him about his private calls with the leaders of Ukraine and Iraq, according to reports published Sunday about private recordings of Pratt, who is a key prosecution witness in Trump's classified documents case. The reports from the New York Times and 60 Minutes Australia revealed previously unknown recordings of Pratt candidly recalling his conversations with Trump and build on existing allegations that Trump overshared sensitive government material. After this reporting, Donald Trump described Anthony Pratt, one of Australia's richest men, as a, quote, red-haired weirdo from Australia, close quote, as he lashed out at the extraordinary reports about their personal conversations. Hamas released 2 more hostages Monday, likely bringing relief to the families who were desperate for their return, but leaving hundreds of people in agony over the fate of the more than 200 people who remain captive. The 2 hostages were identified as Nurit Yitzhak and Yocheved Lifshitz. In a statement on Telegram, the military wing of Hamas said it had decided to release the 2 women for compelling humanitarian reasons. House Republicans were scheduled to meet at 3:30 p.m. Eastern for a closed-door candidate forum, during which 9 candidates, and that number actually has just been reduced to 8, are expected to make their pitch to be the next speaker. The conference is scheduled to vote tomorrow morning on whom to nominate next. A nominee must secure 217 votes on the House floor to be elected. The threshold has proven to be difficult, with only 221 Republicans in the House and conservative and moderate factions divided on who should be the leader. Senator Bob Menendez, Democrat of New Jersey, said today, or rather pleaded not guilty today to a new charge alleging he accepted bribes from the Egyptian government and conspired to act as a foreign agent while serving as a member of Congress. In a statement following his arraignment, Menendez continued to deny any wrongdoing, saying, quote, anyone who knows my record knows this latest charge is as outrageous as it is absurd. Menendez had been excused from this week's court proceeding due to Senate business. In the wake of Sidney Powell's plea deal, and despite claiming that she had joined his legal team in 2020, former President Trump is now alleging that she was never his attorney. Trump said, quote, despite the fake news reports to the contrary, Miss Powell, this part is in all caps, Miss Powell was not my attorney and never was. In fact, she would have been conflicted, close quote. Contrary to what he now claims, though, in 2020, Trump sent out a tweet stating that Powell was a member of a truly great team added to our other wonderful lawyers and representatives. Powell was listed by name alongside 2 of Trump's other attorneys, Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis. The Defense Department ratcheted up its rhetoric against Iran today, saying it will hold Tehran ultimately responsible for a spate of recent drone and rocket attacks on American troops in the Middle East. While the Pentagon does not have information that the government of Iran explicitly ordered the attacks on U.S. forces in the past week, the groups responsible for the incidents are backed by Tehran. DOD spokesperson General Patrick Ryder said. Let's mute this person right here. And so let's see, let's get back to the New York Times walks back its initial coverage on the explosion that killed hundreds of Palestinians at a Gaza Strip hospital last week, saying in an editor's note that the newspaper relied too heavily on claims made by the Hamas militant group. Soon after a huge blast rocked the Al-Ali hospital on Tuesday, finger pointing over its source began. Hamas called the blast a horrific massacre and blamed the Israeli government. Israel, however, blamed the Islamic Jihad, a smaller, more radical group that often works with Hamas. Several news outlets, including the Times, Reuters, and the Associated Press, faced criticism for publishing Hamas's viewpoint prominently in articles and on social media. Politico initially published the Associated Press's report on Hamas blaming Israel, but then quickly updated the article to reflect AP's new reporting that Israel had disputed the allegation. And finally, Michigan State issued an apology Saturday night after an image of Nazi dictator and genocidal murderer Adolf Hitler was displayed on the video board before the Spartans' home game against Michigan. The image appeared as part of a trivia question about Hitler's place of birth. Michigan State later issued a statement on the video board saying the school uses a third party for the content and will no longer be using that company. Maybe should have thought about that before. All right, when we come forward, we're going to be having a conversation about minorities and business. Let's get right to it right after this quick break right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Maisha Cairo here for KBLA Talk 1580. We're live in Los Angeles at JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. And I'm speaking to some of the attendees today to see why it was so important for them to be here.
Yeah, this is Lathan and Tyler. Main reason that's very important for me to be here is just to leave a legacy for my kids. Black wealth, generational wealth is what we need in our community, you know. Oh, Chase, someone has to take the lead. They're showing, big business like Chase cares, and they're putting their money where their mouth is at. So it's good to see, big institution like Chase, giving a lifting hand, to the community, and you got to respect that. It makes me want to bank with Chase, and give them another look. If I go to another institution, I actually see what Chase is doing for the community.
That's right, Chase is doing their part to help advance Black wealth. For more money support, tune in every day from 12 to 2 to KBLA Talk 1580's Midday Money Chain, right here.
Thinking about hosting a podcast and don't know where to start? Morris Media Studios has you covered. We're a professional podcast and voiceover studio located in Leimert Park. We specialize in recording and live streaming audio and video podcasts. Let us help you set up, record, and distribute your podcast. Hosting a podcast is a great way to bring awareness to your business, product, or good cause. For more info, visit morrismediastudios.com or give us a call at 323-815-4204.
To some, this might sound like a typical family dog. But at Dog Chow, we know that for a veteran suffering from PTSD, this could be the sound of life-saving therapy.
Thanks, Betty.
That's why we've made it our mission to connect every military hero in need with a canine hero of their own. To learn about the simple ways you can help Dog Chow in our mission, visit dogchow.com/veterans.
King C. Gillette knows you're dedicated to your barbershop routine. But what about after? What's your routine for facial hair to avoid dry skin, itching, and beard rough? Well, the King C. Gillette Beard Oil is a perfect fit for making your beard feel as good as it looks. It softens your facial hair and moisturizes to help prevent itch due to dry skin. Get facial hair that feels as good as it looks. Just trim, wash, and soften with King C. Gillette.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, can potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
There's no time like the present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And we're back on Areva Martin in real time. Avi Bernard here with you in for Areva Martin today. And we're going to be welcoming to the show Dominique Simpson Milton, the President and Chief Engagement Officer of the Carolinas Virginia Minority Supplier Development Council. Dominique, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Avi. And then that was a mouthful. You got it right the first time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a mouthful. Yeah, that's for sure. So speaking of which, can you tell us about what the NMSDC and MBDA in Baltimore, the conference with the governors, tell us what this is so that people can have an understanding.
Yeah, absolutely. So NMSDC, I like to say that we're the best kept secret. So we are an economic growth engine for ethnic minority business owners. And our sole purpose is to connect minority businesses with supply chain opportunities. And that's basically opening up doors of opportunity, right? Because we know that the playing field has not been equal. And so we exist as an organization. We've been here for 52 years. We're a national organization. There are 23 different affiliates around the country, and I happen to run the one in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. we have assembled here in Baltimore, Maryland for our national convention. And I think there might be about 5,000 people here in attendance to learn about new opportunities and to learn how that we can grow minority businesses to really close the wealth gap in America.
Okay, so you're saying that NMSDC is an organization that represents all types of minorities in the United States, but how do you define minority with regard to membership?
So NMSDC defines minorities as ethnic minorities, right? So Asian American, African American, Hispanic, American Indian. You have to be an ethnic minority to be classified as a minority in our organization. There are other organizations that cover veterans, LGBTQ, and women, but we cover all ethnic minorities.
Okay, that makes sense because yeah, as you said, people define it different ways, and sometimes
exactly
people will use women as part of their diversity quota, and so I just wanted to ask you about that. But tell us about the intentionality work you do in the Carolina region of NMSDC and how it is relevant to business owners all over the country.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's my favorite word is intentionality. And I think that I know that we have to be intentional in how we spend our money, where we spend our money, and how we save our money. We also have to be intentional in making connections with each other, right? All too often, we don't connect people. We don't utilize our resources to help other people grow. And that's the intentionality part, making sure that doors of opportunity are open and that we are intentionally looking for those opportunities and helping people to get ready for those opportunities and making sure those doors are open. That's what I mean by intentionality. And that's the work that I do locally.
So how do you make sure that people are ready? How do you do that?
Great question. So we do 4 things in our organization. We certify, we help develop, we help connect, and we advocate for our business owners. And to me, development is the most important part of that, because that means that you need to learn how to work on your business versus in your business. And so we have programs like somebody might spend $400, I'm just giving you a roundabout example, to become a member of our organization. But I, in turn, invest money back to give them scholarships so they can be ready when those supply chain opportunities come about. So I'll send them to educational programs like fast track MBAs for their businesses, intensives for a week. I might send them to Tuck. I have several homegrown programs that I have, University of Richmond, Sunoco Leadership Program. So we help to develop them by teaching them, business skills, how to get capital, things like that, so that they are ready for the supply chain.
So it's not always easy for people to start businesses. In fact, it's never easy, and there's a lot that goes into it. People might have an idea of, I want to start this business. I want to start a catering business. I want to start a construction business, but they need to kind of know the ins and outs of what it takes so that they can sustain that business. Is that kind of one way of putting it?
That is a perfect way of putting it. And most businesses fail in the first 5 years, right? And so, people don't always have enough cash to start. They borrow from mom and dad and uncles and aunts, right? And they don't have proper tools in place to get the loans that they need to start businesses, but even more importantly, to maintain a cash flow, right? So it's one thing to get started, but can you maintain a cash flow to be able to cover payroll and to be able to buy supplies, to be able to meet the demands? And so we help business owners understand all of that, from your economics to where to find funding to, how to write a business plan. We help you with all of that.
Oh, so how to write a business plan. So a lot of times people, you have to write a business plan before your business opens. So you help people from the development of their ideas even.
Yeah, you have to have a business to get started with us because we inspect that, but it could be an entry level business. So we have from entry level, you could have just started last month, right? But you have to have your incorporation paperwork in order to be able to get certified with us. So it can be a beginning business, but we go all the way up into the billions. We have $12 billion companies here with us here. Worldwide Technologies is our largest MBE, and they're here with a booth. So we have South Coast Paper. There's quite a few who have grown from garage to billion-dollar companies.
And these are all minority-owned companies, right? Ethnic minority-owned.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you tell us how long it takes? I mean, it seems like maybe it might take a while, but how long does it take to become certified? And what are you what's exactly the process like? You go to your company and
Mm-hmm.
you say,
You go
okay,
to
I have this business and I want to. What do I need to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So you go to our website and there's an application portal and you fill out all the paperwork, you upload your documents. And for some people, it's harder than others because honestly, some people don't have their paperwork in order, right?
Okay.
But you should always, as a business owner, you should have your paperwork in order. When we went into PPP, people lost out on that opportunity because they didn't have their stuff in order, right? So there's a lot of paperwork that has to be uploaded into our portal. And what we do is once that gets uploaded, then we schedule a site visit to come out and see your business, and we inspect what you say that you do and make sure that you know how to run the business. So you have to own and operate the business, and that's important, right? So some people just say, I own the business, but they might have put it in their wife's name, right? So that doesn't necessarily justify as a minority run company. So once you do all that, we come out, we inspect, and then we send you to a board of review so that we have people who vote on you based on your paperwork and the interview, and then we induct you into the organization with a certification. We call it a post-certification briefing, where we'll explain to you how to get engaged with the organization. And then I left out that there's a pre-certification briefing. So there's actually a briefing to explain to you how to go through all the paperwork and everything, and then you upload everything onto the website. So there's a whole process. It takes about 6 to 8 weeks to get it done properly. And some people do a little bit faster because they have their stuff in order, but for most people, it takes about 6 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks is not bad.
That's not bad.
I mean, that's less than 2 months. That's to have all your paperwork in order, to have a legit business operation. That's not bad at all. And you said they go to the website. What is that website?
So for my organization, it's cvmsdc.org, www.cvmsdc.org. But you can also go to the national website, which is nmsdc.org, and they will direct you to your local affiliate. So there's, again, 23 different affiliates all over the country. And wherever your business is incorporated, that's where you get certified.
Okay, so nmsdc.org, as in National Minority Supplier Development Council.
You got it.
And you mentioned that you would do a site visit for these businesses to see how they're operating and things of that nature. But what if it's not a brick and mortar business? A lot of people don't have brick and mortar businesses, but they do have legit businesses. Maybe they have a food truck, or they work out of their house, and they ship things on Etsy. What about people who don't have a brick and mortar business?
No, excellent question. So we learned this during COVID. So we first of all, we don't do any house visits. If you operate your business out of a house, we'll meet you at a neutral location like a library or something, or Starbucks. So we'll meet you there. We also do virtual visits. So we did all of this during COVID. We will dial in, put you on Zoom, and just talk to you, make sure that you are who you say you are, and you own and operate the business. And then you can show us around if there's like a facility in your home or a space that you dedicate to your particular operation. So yeah, we have a way to get around that if that's your situation.
Okay, that's good to know. Can you tell us maybe some of the success stories? I mean, you mentioned that some organizations have gone from garage to being billion-dollar businesses, billion with
yes.
Can you tell us about some of the success stories of maybe businesses who waited patiently to become certified, and how that changed their business for the long term?
Yeah, I can tell you 3 very distinct stories. I'll tell you one. I don't know if you know Janice Bryan Howard, right? But she's a diva. She's one of my mentors. She started her business with $1,500 in North Carolina and became the first African-American woman to become a billionaire in her business, which is a staffing company, right? So that's a success story. It took her years, but she took that dream that she had and turned it into a multi-billion-dollar business. And then there's a young lady who is in my area, and she does desserts. And I want to share this story because most people, I want the listeners to know you got to really think outside the box. She does desserts. And we have this BMW conference once a year. And at the BMW conference, they have about 2,000 to 3,000 people who come for the diversity conference. And I said to her, no, you need to really talk to BMW because they have this conference every year. She says, I don't do anything that could really help cars, right? I make desserts. I said, but I can see your desserts on every table. Well, lo and behold, she got the contract. She has a 5-year contract with BMW to supply all the desserts for their tables for this conference. That's huge. She never would have thought, thinking outside the box, that she could have her desserts in that particular venue, right? So those are two examples, and one more if you'd like me to share. We
Sure.
have we have a couple here in Charleston, and they have a burger marinade company. It's called the Charleston Burger Marinade, Charleston Gourmet Burger Company, Charleston Gourmet Burger. And they started in their kitchen. It was an accidental business. I remember they used to go to farmers market and make burgers so people could taste their sauce. And they ended up going to Lowe's with their sauce. And Lowe's said, they're the most flexible, coachable business they've ever met. I would have never thought to put them in Lowe's, but they thought outside the box. They were very creative. They were very coachable. And then their sauce ended up being on the shelves of Lowe's. You can pull it up on YouTube to hear their story. Again, the Charleston Gourmet Burger Company, they've created their own burger line. They've sold out on QVC. But doors have been open for them that would not have normally been open because of their certification with NMSDC. And so now they're nationwide with their sauce. Most grocery stores have it. Walmart has it. I think they've been in Costco's or Sam, I'm not sure which one, but that the doors, what they'll tell you is doors were open because of their certification with NMSDC that would not have normally been open.
Okay, well that is an amazing story. Those are amazing stories. The Burger Marinade Company was able to get to Lowe's, as in the hardware store, the department,
the grill store, yes, the hardware store, yeah, not the food chain. That's why it was so unique, right? But then they branched out from there, and now they're nationwide in grocery stores, and they sell it online as well.
Well, that's props to them, because sometimes thinking outside the box is what you got to do, and it worked for them.
Yes.
But so this NMSDC conference. So what is the purpose of this conference?
So the purpose, again, getting back to our original mission, is to make sure that we are making connections. Remember I said we certify, we develop, we connect, and advocate. So we're here making sure that connections are being made. There's matchmaking opportunities. I don't know how many booths we have, but it's about 3 football fields long of booths where people can meet. You can come and meet McDonald's. You can meet Walmart. You can meet Target. All the banks are here. All the automotive manufacturers are here. So if you have a product or service and you want to do business with these organizations, they are here to meet you. I have another gentleman who does plastic molding. And when I used to be an MBE, when I met him, he had a small company, and he came to one of our events and ended up getting an order with Altria, which was the cigarette manufacturing company, to make a plastic part. Now every car that rolls off the BMW line has one of his plastic parts in it, right? And he's also doing battery holders for another major automotive company. So opportunities are unlimited, but you have to, I always tell people, you have to be at the table to eat. And you have to come to these type of events so that you can make yourself known, pitch your products, and meet the people who are going to be the decision makers to help get you in the door. And
so when is the conference taking place?
So the conference is taking place right now. We're in Baltimore, Maryland. We're down at the Inner Harbor. The conference is taking place today through Wednesday. And we end the conference. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say we end the conference with an award ceremony. So we recognize minority businesses as well as the corporations who've made a significant impact over the last year.
And do you have to be at the entire conference? If you missed today, can you come on Wednesday?
Yeah, you can come any day that you want.
And so, speaking of having a seat at the table, how important is the work of NMSDC? How important is the work you're doing in closing the national economic equity gap?
It's critical. We did an economic impact study, and it showed that we have a $401 billion economic impact, GDP impact. That's based on goods and services sold. That's based on, incomes, taxes. It's a $401 billion economic impact. We want to take that to $1 trillion. We want to make sure that companies are spending money with our minorities. And so there's a thing called the $1 Billion Roundtable, where companies that spend $1 billion or more with minorities they have their own organization, and they're recognized. And so the work that we do is designed to make sure that we are opening doors, as I said up front. The playing field has not been even, right? It's people have been at the table for a long time, and we've been cut out as minorities. And so unless we are intentional and we work hard and have organizations like this to advocate for our rights, it's not going to happen. when we end this conference, we're going on the Hill to make sure that we're advocating for the rights of minority businesses, and that, things like the affirmative action decision to turn that over for schools, that doesn't impact corporations, and the supply chain opportunities are still there.
Okay, so when you talk about that $1 billion number of economic impact, what does that mean? Can you explain what that means in practical terms?
Sure. In practical terms, I'm going to go back to the 401 billion, right? What 401 billion is, the 401 billion is actual. That means that of the companies we represent right now, the economic impact of goods and services sold, of salaries, of taxes, it's a $401 billion impact on the economy. So what we're trying to do is get that higher.
Okay, so that money is being circulated into the economy because of
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Another way to look at it is, if you spend $1 with a minority business owner, there's a $1.72 impact back into the economy. That means that person can go out, they can hire somebody and pay that person a salary, and by paying that person a salary, they can now put their kids to school. They can buy groceries, right? So it's like a trickle down economic impact. So every dollar that's spent with an ethnic minority returns $1.72 back into the economy. And so that's what we're saying. We want to see $1 billion impact in the economy based on businesses helping other businesses. And I'll give you one more statistic. Right now, there's a 330-year wealth gap in America. That means it would take 330 years to catch up to non-minorities in terms of our wealth, right? That's scary, right? That's crazy. And that's why organizations like this have to exist. If everybody were to spend 1% more with ethnic minorities for the next 15 years, we could close that wealth gap. But that means all your listeners, all corporations, everybody, when you get ready to think of a caterer, when you get ready to think of a hairdresser, a dentist, or anything, any service or product, you're thinking, I need to be very intentional. And if we all did that, we could close that wealth gap sooner.
I appreciate you so much, Dominique Simpson-Milson, President and Chief Engagement Officer of the Carolinas, Virginia Minority Supplier Development Council. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much for making this information known.
Absolutely. And when we come forward, we're going to continue this conversation with Fernando Martinez, Senior Vice President of Network Success for the NMSDC, right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Areva time is the right time. More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward.
I'm Doug Davis with the latest from the Black Information Network. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who was black, is calling on Republicans to work with Democrats to elect a speaker. After Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan failed to get the votes to be speaker for the third time, Jeffries called on Republicans to break with extremists. Former President Donald Trump says Sidney Powell was never his attorney following Powell's plea deal in the Georgia election interference case. He made the comment on Truth Social. Powell pled guilty to 6 misdemeanor counts in the 2020 Georgia election interference case last week after reaching a plea deal. Longtime Chicago, Illinois television news anchor Harry Porterfield has died at 95. He passed away today in Munster, Indiana, of natural causes. The black broadcaster started his career at WBBM TV in 1964 before moving to WLS TV in 1985. Porterfield retired in 2015 at age 87. And that is the latest. I'm Doug Davis from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com, and I sell custom blinds designed for do-it-yourselfers. Unlike stock blinds offered at big box retailers, Blindster blinds are custom made for your windows and shipping is free. Don't hire an expensive pro. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Rams may be shopping for a kicker this week. Rams coach Sean McVay was not happy with Brett Mayer's performance in Sunday's loss to Pittsburgh. Mayer missed 2 field goals and an extra point. That was 7 points the Rams could have had. They lost by 7. The 2-4 Chargers gave up 415 yards passing Sunday at KC. They now have the NFL's worst passing defense, allowing 310 yards per game. Magic Johnson, part owner of the Washington Commanders, is keeping up with his new team, and he's not happy. The Commanders lost 14-7 to the New York Giants. In a message on X, formerly known as Twitter, Magic posted that 7 points is not enough to win in the NFL. Magic watched his team make only 1 of 15 third-down conversions. The Commanders are 3-4. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Boldly taking talk radio where it has never gone before. New vistas, new voices, new views, new visions, new victories. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're taking public media black.
Only 1 in 5 people with autism are employed, despite many having the skill set and desire to work.
Maybe it's because employers don't know what kind of jobs they can do. Like, what about a programmer?
That's a job for someone with autism.
How about a healthcare worker?
Yep, that is too. People with autism can do a lot of different jobs, but often get overlooked due to outdated stigmas. Introducing WIN by Autism Speaks. We help businesses lead the way in inclusive hiring.
What about a ranch hand?
To learn more, go to autismspeaks.org/win.
No young person should ever have to worry about having a safe place to sleep at night, or whether anyone cares about them.
But the reality is, 1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year.
For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis and giving them the support and tools they need to succeed in life. To learn more, go to covenanthouse.org today. Thank you for caring.
Hey, son, how are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it. Navigating without a compass, eyes waiting, started to wonder. Metamorphosis, the loss of who you thought you was.
When your kid can't find the language, help them find the lyrics. Listen to the Sound It Out album and get tips and tools to start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
At Susan G. Komen, we believe that ending breast cancer needs all of us working together. Because if you've just been diagnosed and don't know where to turn, we've got you. If you can't afford the treatment you need, we've got you. And if you are driven to honor the loved one you've just lost, we have a place for you here. Because of you, we're supporting those who need help today while tirelessly searching for tomorrow's cures. Visit Komen.org and be a part of our Susan G. Komen community today.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
That's what we were taught, service before self.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And we're back on Areva Martin in real time. Avi Bernard in for Areva Martin today. And we're talking about minorities and business, how to get your business set up as a minority business owner, some of the obstacles that you face when you are a minority business owner. And we're talking with the National Minority Supplier Development Council. It is a mouthful. It is a lot to say, but now specifically we're joined by Fernando Martinez, the Senior Vice President of Network Success for the NMSDC. And so, Fernando, thanks so much for being here today with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
And so, can you just a reminder for those who may have missed the earlier part of the conversation, what exactly is NMSDC?
So the National Minority Supplier Development Council is the only organization in the country, the only multicultural organization that supports ethnic minority businesses and for ethnic minority businesses primarily, right? Blacks, Hispanics, Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, Alaska Native Americans, right? Those four ethnicities are represented by the National Minority Supplier Development Council. And it's the only organization in this country that does that, because we have Hispanic chambers, we have Black chambers, we have other entities that support other groups, but the National Minority Supplier Development Council is focused on specifically growing minority businesses of color.
And so this conference, there's just so many letters tied to it. So it's NMSDC, MBDA, and so what is the MBDA, and how is it associated with the Department of Commerce?
So the NMSDC and the MBDA have a long history of working together. When the NMSDC was first founded in 1972, it was actually founded by the federal government, because back then President Nixon acknowledged a group of Black businesses acknowledged that the federal government was doing zero business with the federal government, and they were all these white companies were doing business with the federal government, but they were not including anybody of color in that contracting. So what happened is President Nixon signed an executive order that said, we are standing up a purchasing organization where if you want to do business with the government, you have to be inclusive of Black businesses. That Black businesses evolved to Latinos, it evolved to Asians, it evolved to Native Americans. But that was back in 1972. Now, being a government agency, we were actually funded by the federal government. In 1981, we transitioned to the private sector, but the federal government still maintained the Minority Business Development Agency. So they were doing the same thing that we were doing initially. And so that relationship that for 40 years is federal government and private sector. The key here is that the MBDA specifically represents those ethnic groups like we do. Unlike the SBA represents everybody else, which are predominantly non-minority entities. So the relationship between the NMSDC and the MBDA is very close. It has a long history of working together. It was founded upon the same principles. And so this week we're in Baltimore at the national conference. The NMSDC is celebrating all the business, bringing all the corporate members along with them to do business and transact business with the minority business enterprises. The MBDA bringing all their operators as well from across the country, and a lot of the people that they contract with. So combined, we've got a very strong private sector, public sector organization and conference taking place in Boston. I mean, not in Boston, but in Baltimore, Maryland this week, where we're expecting transactions of millions of dollars.
You're expecting transactions of millions of dollars at the conference?
People, our corporate members come to this conference with expectations of finding minority businesses with whom they can do business. Okay. Minority businesses come here with the expectations of doing business with corporations, right, and the federal government. And so we expect that some business will be transacted. I've seen it in the millions of dollars when we've done it in the past. But also we have a very strong matchmaking session where we're actually having one-on-one meetings between these MBE entities and the private sector and the public sector. So they're talking about how they can help each other. So yes, we expect transactions to come out of this conference this week.
So when minority-owned businesses are at this conference and they're going there with the hope and expectation of doing completing transactions with corporations or with the government. So are they showing up and putting up a kiosk and kind of showing what they do, or how are they getting introduced to these businesses in literal terms?
So there's a couple of things that happen at this conference. One is our corporations come in and exhibit. Great exhibit. We have 430 exhibitors, I think, if I heard correctly this morning. 430.
Again, how many?
430.
430.
Mm-hmm. Some of them are corporate members. Some of them are public sector entities, but also our minority businesses are here. We've got petroleum companies that are owned by Black businesses. We have technology companies that are owned by Black businesses. We have, we just have Asian Indian companies that are in the technology space. We have a Black business out of Portland, Oregon, that is manufacturing and installing and managing EV stations across the country. And these are the companies that they come together, they show what they're capable of, they have conversations, they network, they connect. And there may not be a transaction today, but this is the one conference a year where you can bring 5,000 people together representing Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 1,000 companies, representing the federal government, and representing minority businesses, that they can come together and engage and connect. And if they don't transact business right now, there's going to be transactions following this conference. I personally, when I was in corporate America, I did transactions after the conference. I built the relationships during, got the introductions, and I actually ended up in millions of dollars with minority businesses after the conference itself.
Well, that's definitely encouraging. So why was it important to combine the 40th anniversary of MBDA with the National NMSDC conference this year?
You know, it's important because one is the MBDA's 40th anniversary, right? It's our national conference. And the strength of having a public-private entity, a public-private engagement, is twice as strong as if we go at it alone, right? So we have 23 operating affiliate organizations from the NMSDC across the country. The MBDA, I believe, has 46 operating entities. So when you bring over 70 operating entities that do contract financing and buying and selling, that combined effort of the public and private sector is incredibly strong, and it attracts. We've got close to 5,000 people here today, and for the next couple of days.
And so I know the conference is going on. It started today. It's going on tomorrow and Wednesday as well. And
yes.
So if a business wasn't there yesterday and this is their first time hearing about it, do you have to register online, or can they just show up, or what's the process?
So it's very hard to just walk in and have any expectations, right? Because there's a strategy to these conferences, right? So somebody can come in and walk in and register. Absolutely, they can come and register. But the key to this is coming to these national conferences with a strategy of who your target companies are, what the target industries are that you're coming to meet with, and how do you prepare yourself in advance so that you can then have meaningful engagements with them. Now, the strategy is always around knowing who's coming, because our website, we start posting which corporations are coming. So the strategy is in advance, understanding who's coming, get your list together, and then work with your regional council, because your regional council has relationships with all these corporate entities, right? Okay. And say, hey, Avi, like, I'm going to come into LA, can you introduce me to Disneyland, right? And that's where the connectivity comes in. So when you arrive in Baltimore, you have something pretty much set up, right? So it's about being very strategic, very intentional about who you want to meet, why you want to meet them, and make sure that you're prepared to have those conversations with them.
Yeah, you can work hard till you're blue in the face, but if you don't have good strategy and you're not being efficient with your time and energy, then you might be doing all that work for naught. I mean,
I just said, like I just mentioned a minute ago, that we have over 400 exhibitors here, right? And by the time you get done walking from one end of the exhibit hall to the other, you're tired, right? You're tired, and that's why it's all carpeted, right? We're trying to make it easy on attendees.
And make it easy on joints.
But if you come in Target and say, like, these 25 companies, I know I want to do business with them, and you come prepared to have a conversation with them, it saves time, it's efficient. You've already done your homework, so you know what their needs are. You've read their 10Ks, you know what their strategy is going forward, in the next 5 years, and you can have those intelligent conversations, right? And when you have those intelligent conversations, that's when the callbacks come back, so absolutely.
So I understand your economic impact report breaks down how minority businesses are doing by geographic region. So when we come forward, I want to ask you, Fernando, how the Southern California region is doing, how LA is doing. When we come forward, we'll We'll talk about that right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Happy birthday, Metro K-Line. Whether traveling for business or pleasure, it's time you made today a K-Line day. The K-Line can connect you with fun, food, friends, and family from Crenshaw to Inglewood in one safe, clean, comfortable ride. Take the K-Line today and experience the diversity that makes LA such a great place to live, work, and play. Make it a K-Line day. Go Metro. Visit metro.net/K-Line.
A sense of peace. A place to kick back and put down roots. A lasting legacy. However you define home, at City National, we're committed to helping you get there with our City National Ladder Up Home Loan Program. Find the full benefits at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National Bank, here for our clients and communities. Ladder Up program is available only in select areas. Terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS ID 536994.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
Anyone can choose to make a difference. You can help people succeed, rebuild after disasters, protect the environment, or feed the hungry. Not only will you make a difference for others, but for yourself. You can earn money for college, learn career skills, and make friendships that last a lifetime. Make a difference. Choose your future. Choose America.
Only 1 in 5 people with autism are employed, despite many having the skill set and desire to work.
Maybe it's because employers don't know what kind of jobs they can do. Like, what about a programmer?
That's a job for someone with autism.
How about a healthcare worker?
Yep, that is too. People with autism can do a lot of different jobs, but often get overlooked due to outdated stigmas. Introducing WIN by Autism Speaks. We help businesses lead the way in inclusive hiring.
What about a ranch hand?
To learn more, go to autismspeaks.org/win.
Hello?
Man, where are you? I thought you were coming.
I can't. I'm in bed with the flu.
The flu? Whoa. Grandma's about to crowd surf. Man, I'll call you back.
Don't get stuck at home with the flu. A flu shot is safe, effective, and you can get it at the same time as your COVID-19 vaccine. A flu shot is the best way to prevent the flu and its potentially serious complications. Don't get flu FOMO. Learn more at getmyflushot.org.
Brought to you by the AMA, CDC, and the Ad Council.
There's no time like the present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And we're back on Areva Martin in real time, and we are joined by Fernando Martinez. He is the Senior Vice President of Network Success for the NMSDC. That's the National Minority Supplier Development Council. And we're having a really important conversation today about minorities in business and what it takes to succeed. And we talk a lot about, wanting there to be more economic equality and more parity, more minorities owning businesses, and closing that wealth gap. And the NMSDC is a big part of helping to make those things happen. So Fernando, before we left, I was saying I wanted to ask you about your economic impact reports and how I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, they break down how minority businesses are doing by geography. Yes. So could you share a bit about how the NMSDC in the region where KBLA is located, and where our listeners might know about the activities of minority business owners in the Los Angeles and Southern California region?
Sure. So, Avi, as I mentioned earlier, we have the National Minority Supplier Development Council is the organization that activates all the 23 regional councils across the country, right? And we have a council, the Southern California Council, right there in downtown Los Angeles. And I don't have the breakdown by by city or anything for that region, but the Southern California Council covers a range that's close to Sacramento and close to San Diego. So it's a pretty good sized region, right? And what the president, the CEO of that council has done is she's managed to grow that council to where she supports over 1,700 ethnic minority businesses. Now,
1,700?
Yes, yes. Very, very good market for us from the standpoint of supporting the minority businesses. The thing about the National Minority Supplier Council is that we have 4 pillars under which we operate, Avi. The first is we certify them, right? We validate that they truly are ethnic minority owned companies, and that's because we don't want any fraudulent type of activity. We don't want any activity where somebody sets up a front company, right? So our certification process is very, very rigid. The next piece is development, right? So we do training development, we do scholarshiping for our minority businesses and help them kind of develop so that they can grow their business. Then we were talking a minute ago about the conference, right? Where there's a lot of connection at this conference. So we connect as minority businesses to all of our corporate members and our public agencies. And then lastly, we advocate, right? So we're always at the forefront of really advocating for the value of doing business with ethnic minority businesses, right? It's a strategic practice to include businesses of color because those businesses of color drop money in our communities of color. And they also drop money in the community at large, right? Because most of our businesses are 50% of color, 50% non-color, non-minority, right? So we're impacting all the community at large, not just specifically our communities of color, right? So when I talk about Virginia and the Southern California Council supporting over 1,700 minority businesses, we can assume that the entire area of the Southern California is benefiting, not just the Latino communities, not just the Black communities, but the community of Southern California at large, right? What that also means is that they generate they actually access about $850 billion in revenues, right? So when you think about the region of Southern California generating $850 billion in revenue, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of business transaction. That's a lot of B&O taxes for the cities where Southern California supports. That's a lot of tax money for the region in the state of California, and also that generates a lot of other taxes that really support our community, right? That support the infrastructure. So that's the one thing. And these 1,700 businesses, Avi, support over 121,000 jobs. So when you think about 121,000 jobs, and you think about the families, the households, right? And the children that this impacts, right? And so when that's the importance of this, right? Is that it's not only about the business itself, it's about the people that make up the business, and it's about the families that make up the business. It's about breaking into creating that wealth for our communities of color, our businesses of color, so that we can thrive into the future, right? That's what the NMSDC is all about, Well,
I love it. And before we run out of time, I just want to ask you if there's anything that we haven't covered about the NMSDC or the conference this week that you want people to know about.
I think that I know we've got a little bit of time left, but I do want to say a couple of things. Mm-hmm. One, we have a commitment to grow ethnic minority spend, right? Because we understand the value. So in Southern California, you can look at that you can look at that revenue of 330. Wait a second, I gotta just a second. Of the $850 billion, and you can add about 33% to that, and that's in additional spend, right? So 850 billion is direct spend with minority businesses, but then our businesses create economic impact in the community, right? And
so what is that? What is that 850 billion number?
So that is the amount of revenue. Oh, let me just double check I'm sorry, it's 50 billion. I'm sorry, 50 billion. So let me correct myself because I don't want to misquote this. So we have over 1,700 jobs in Southern California, over $50 billion in
1,700 minority-owned businesses,
companies.
Right?
Yes, over $50 billion in revenue and over 121,000 jobs. So I think I kind of like misquoted earlier in the broadcast, right? So I want to make sure that I correct myself there.
Got you. We got you.
So if you add the direct and indirect impact of that 50 billion, you can add another 15 billion, close to 18 billion in direct impact to our community, right? Because I have to go shop for groceries. I have to go get a haircut. I have to spend money for my family buying clothing, right? So it all wraps itself into, so that 50 billion easily translates into approximately $68-70 billion in impact.
All right, Fernando, what's the website people can go to get more information?
www.nmsdc.org.
www.nmsdc.org. The conference is taking place this week, today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. And you are empowering minority businesses, helping to close the economic wealth gap. It's really important work. I'm really glad that you guys are doing it. Really glad you were able to be on the show today. Fernando Martinez, Senior Vice President of Network Success for the NMSDC. That is the National Minority Supplier Development Council. Fernando, thanks so much for joining us today.
Avi, it's a pleasure being with you. Thank you very much.
All right, we appreciate you. And when we come forward, Robin Ayers will be coming at you with the Raw Report. I'm Avi Bernard, and I am gone.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Doug Davis with the latest from the Black Information Network. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who was black, is calling on Republicans to work with Democrats to elect a speaker. After Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan failed to get the votes to be speaker for the third time, Jeffries called on Republicans to break with extremists. Former President Donald Trump says Sidney Powell was never his attorney.